let me give you a quick introduction about him. So, Love Zohar is a seasoned governance, risk, and compliance professional and certified ISO lead implementer with over a decade of experience in cybersecurity and information security training. As the founder of CyberGRC, he has delivered 10,000 plus hours of training to 20,000 plus professionals across 15 plus countries, empowering global teams to implement and audit ISO 27001, ISO 22301, ISO 27701, and ISO 42001 framework. Loves practical hands-on teaching style, bridge technical depth with real-world application, making complex GRC concept simple and actionable. He holds multiple certification including ISO 27001 and 42001 lead implementer, CompTIA Security Plus, ITIL V4, CCNA, and Prince 2 practitioner.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us again. In our last session, we were discussing business continuity management, but due to time constraints, we couldn't cover all the important question practical scenarios. So today we are continuing the remaining part, especially focusing on implementation challenges because business continuity is not just having a plan, it's about ensuring the business keeps running when things go wrong. Let's continue from where we left off. So, my first question is a critical vendor fails during peak business hour. How would BCMS address third party dependency risk?
Yeah, good morning to all our viewers. Once again, this is a very important question. Again, to answer this question, one should know multiple standards altogether because we see this question demands you to have a knowledge on the vendor management also, vendor management, vendor risk management, right? This is what you are going to learn in TPRM, third party risk management altogether. So again, to answering this question, like first and foremost, we should know how to tier the vendors, right? We should know how to tier them. Tiering is nothing but like to segregate based on their criticalities and based on our requirement to the business. What is the dependency of the vendor to the business, to our business? Now aligning to BCMS again, this requires vendor risk assessment, right? So for each and every vendors, we have to undergo a risk assessment methodology here. So, and apart from this risk assessment, we need to have mention the right clauses when we sign up with any of the vendor. We need to have a right clause mentioned in the documentation. When I talk about documentation, like we have to have a SLA mentioned in the documentation, the kind detailed contracts, right? What in case of any breach, a data breach out of vendor, what will be the penalties? What like how are they going to inform us, within what time they are going to inform us, right? And parallelly, we as a company, we should have a fallback option. First and foremost, we should not be depending on one vendor, that too when vendor is critical, high or critical. So we need to have an alternative for each of the vendors, and we need to have a
Yes.
contingency plan also. So these are all the few steps which allows the organization to have an active fallback option in case of any failure of the vendors during our business peak business. That too, answering to your question, Aditi.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you. Love, about you. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a great answer, Jan. Thank you. Aditi, can you just send that link to live people because I just sent you on WhatsApp for
Yeah.
the groups. Yeah, thank you. Basically, this question is related to the guidance provided by many different compliances as well. You have RBI guidance, as also you have SEBI guidance also on this. Basically, the guidance is that whenever you first of all you have a critical vendor that can have a direct impact on the business, okay, you need to have a failover mechanism for that. Okay, you can't have a critical vendor without any failover. That is not possible. Okay, so it's a guidance as well, and that is one thing that every organization that is dealing with critical vendors need to now understand, that what is their workaround strategy, what is their alternate backup vendor arrangement. Okay, how can they switch over to the backup vendor What is the time lag for that switching? Again, like we discussed yesterday, all these can be only assessed during a test drill or a mock drill, basically, where you can actually switch down the main vendor and then ask the alternate vendor to come up, or ask the alternate application service or whatever it is to come up. Okay, so otherwise, without testing this in the real time scenario, it is very difficult to understand how this approach will go when the actual disaster will strike. Okay, for example, yesterday we saw a question of a fire in the data center. So, would you actually wait for the fire to happen, or would you try to mitigate that scenario upfront beforehand, and you want to make sure that if this happens, this will be the response, and this is how much the response time will take. So I think these things are important to consider as well from that perspective.
Yes, yes, of course. So let's continue. How often should a business continue plan be tested, and what types of testing methods are commonly used?
Okay, as we mentioned yesterday, today, like business continuity plan is all about a readiness, right? It is not about like how you face the situation when it in real occurs, but rather than that, it guides you how to be ready for a disasters. That too, when you have a critical operations, critical vendor onboarded, right? So that is when we talk about this test or drill. So whatever the plan we have it, whatever test plans we have it, see as per the procedure, it has to be tested at least once in a year. But in case if it is a critical services or a critical system or a critical vendor, so I would suggest it has to be tested frequently. Again, it depends on the management, leadership team. They are the one who has to take
Yeah.
because it all incurs the expenses also, all these things. It adds up the budget to all these drills, test will adds up the budget part here, right? So otherwise the common method includes like tabletop exercise, simulation drills, what we have come across in your organizations, technical recovery test. Well, these are all the few of the test method that we have it in place, which we have come across in our organizations, or we can have a full stack mock disaster exercise basically, right? But again, it all depends on the management. There is no time stop, but for sure, minimum once in a year is definite. And this is one of the most important interview questions I have heard from many of our learners, students. Like they do get this question in the interviews, so make sure you're clear on all these concepts, right?
Yes.
Thank you for
Yeah.
that question, Aditi.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So basically, just to add on that, what Jen just mentioned, definitely once a year is a minimum best practice, I would say, right? But you also have to consider if there is any recent incident which has happened, or if there is any recent business disruption that you have faced actually, which you were not prepared for. So again, this also requires a BCP to be tested again. Okay, or when you are including new applications to the business, you are including new technologies to the business like AI. If you are introducing such big changes into the business, how your business is working, I think after those technologies are introduced, you need to conduct a BCP test again. Okay, because whenever you have any high risk processing going on, be it any significant incidents, be it any disruptions, be it any mergers, be it any divestitures, in all those high risk type of scenarios, BCP has to be tested again. Okay, so these are some triggers that you need to understand as well. Okay, from an interview perspective, that you can answer to the interviewer. Okay.
Yes, yes, that's right. Okay. So during a pandemic like situation, what BCMS controls become most important?
Very good question. This is again like answering to this. We saw what happened during our pandemic, COVID 19, right? Like
Yeah.
altogether, that was a situation we haven't faced, come across before that in our career, maybe most of us, right? When we talk about BCMS controls, we saw that remote working readiness, or there was a policy implemented altogether during the pandemic. a remote working policy got implemented, right? And there was a policy drafted during the pandemic, like how people will access the system from their home, which we call it as a secure remote access, right? So in technical terms we call it as a VPN, remote access, secure remote access. And the first and foremost, what I insist on, employee communication methods, right? And health and safety procedures. Even this was part of this remote works readiness policies that we had it. Altogether, vendor monitoring, that is where the crucial vendor monitoring is comes into the picture. And on the top, it comes to the leadership role again, how they form a crisis team who can be a liaison between the employees and the core functions here. They are the one who can coordinate, and they become a crucial part in handling the disaster plans, basically. Right. Thank you for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So basically, just to add on that, I would say from a pandemic situation, the employee safety, the health and safety of an employee is the topmost priority. Okay, for the BCMS controls to work on. So you have to have proper health and safety controls. You need to have a proper work from home enablement, like how the employees will work from home. You need to have a communication plan in place so that people should know what they have to do. Okay, so all these are very important. But again, from a BCMS perspective, in terms of a pandemic, I would start implementing health and safety from an employee safety point of view. Always remember
Yes.
this. Whenever any question comes from a pandemic perspective or a emergency perspective, employee safety, people safety always should be the first answer in the interview. Okay, after that definitely you can go towards technical answers, but the recruiter wants you to understand, and they want you to follow a certain approach, a certain mindset. And the core mindset for any information security aspirant or professional always says that people safety, people security is always first. Okay, so make a note of this point. Whenever you answer such questions, always make sure people health and safety comes first from an interview perspective. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Okay. If top management is not taking BCMS seriously, how would you justify its importance?
Again, it's an interesting question in the interview, expected question as well during the interview process, right? See, if the leadership team itself is not supporting in all these activities, particularly when we are talking about business continuity, then it is nothing but a disaster altogether. Before even the disaster occurs, if the leadership team itself is not serious on this functional aspects, then it does not add value, right? See, even still, if they are not giving any importance, it is critical for us to make them to understand in their own language. See, always leadership or the leadership team talks about in a financial aspect. They understand the financial language much better actually. So make them to realize the financial impact because of this disaster and downtime. What happens in case if there is a disaster and there is a downtime of the services?
Yeah.
What will be the financial loss to the organization, right? So apart from financial, like we can educate to the management with respect to regulatory penalties as well, right? Because now we have different regulatories very strict implemented, right? So it is crucial for management to realize the regulatory penalties and reputational damages, customer trust, compare the cost of disruption with the cost of preparedness too, right? So these are all the things that we should educate to the management here, right? Yeah, love, your advice please.
Yeah. Before that, we have a question.
Yeah, we have a notification comment. Hi, sir. I'm currently working in information security, but top management mostly focus on technical control, like cloud security, application security, SDLC, but they do not focus on GRC as much. It is from Masum Team Bruna 8166.
Go ahead, Love.
Jayant, you want
You
to
can
take?
take it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So
Go ahead.
thank you so much, Masoom, for first of all asking this question, and thank you for the active participation. And like I said yesterday, also we are conducting this podcast for you, so we highly appreciate such questions. We highly appreciate you participating in these sessions. Okay, so thank you so much, first of all, for that. It's a very common problem what you have mentioned here. Okay, Masoom, this is nothing new for us. We have seen this. I think yesterday also we were discussing about the same thing. When you implement a standard, Masoom, it is different on the paper and it is different in the practicality. We always see that gap because, see, you have to understand one thing, that top management main priority is to drive the business forward. That's it. Now, how you correlate, how you map GRC with the business objectives will make them to understand the importance of GRC. Okay. Now you have to understand, first of all, what are the business objectives? What is the business looking forward in the next 1 year or 2 year? Accordingly, if you can map the GRC controls, or you can map governance and risk accordingly to the business objectives, you can identify proactively a few risks in the upcoming approaches that the business is going forward, then they would listen to you. Okay. Because for management, having a firewall is one thing that they know every business has to put in place if they want to stay in the business. Every management knows that, right? Every leadership team knows that, because there's a bare minimum. And that is why you are also mentioning the same thing. They're talking about cloud security, they're talking about the basic infrastructure security, because they know that in back of their minds that business cannot sustain without these controls. They clearly have that idea. Okay, that if they don't invest in the firewall, tomorrow their business will be jeopardized. They clearly know that. But from a GRC perspective, that awareness is being lacking right now. And secondly, mapping this GRC framework with the business objectives again is a clear gap right now, which they are not able to understand until and unless there is a lessons learned. And lessons learned will happen when an incident will occur. After that incident, definitely they will ask you, Masum, okay, tell me how could we have avoided this in a better manner? Okay, so that is where GRC comes into play. But ideally, we should not wait for the incident to happen, and the management should not wait for the lessons learned. Rather than you as a a consultant, I think that you're working already as a consultant. That's why you're bringing up such a question. You should already in advance proactively tell them that these are the issues that could happen if you do not follow the GRC approach, and this could be the benefits also that you can achieve once you follow the GRC approach as well. And definitely, once you join the ISO 27000 course, ISO 27001 course that we are launching on 22nd of March, all these things, Masoom, we do practically, hands on. We will tell you how to create the business objectives. We'll tell you how to map the GRC around the business objectives, how to measure those KPIs, KRIs, all these things we discuss in the practical hands-on training, Masoom. That is why we encourage people to attend our batches. Okay, because all these are practical scenarios what you are bringing up here, and same scenarios we also brainstorm. Okay, Jayant, you want to add?
Well said, Love. These are the things we can learn when we do it ourselves. These are not a theory subject at all. Like we have heard, we have seen in the market, people think GRC is all about theory, it's all about documentation. No, that is not the fact here. So it's all about implementation. You do it by yourself. You will understand what are the controls, what is clauses, what is standards, what is framework.
Yes.
Right. That is what you are going to learn in our trainings. We focus on practical hands-on training. Okay, good.
Yeah, now she is asking, we are currently ISO 27001 and ISO 2 Type 2 certified. As a GRC person, we even bring risk register to them, but they typically ignore and just discuss about technical part.
Same thing, Masum. Like I said before, for them, technical is something that they need in order to run the show. They have already back of their mind. They know that, Masum. That's what I'm saying. So from all this, what is completely clear to us is that management is not aware about the benefit of GRC. That only you can do. You can educate them. You can take a session, or you can ask us to take a session with them. We can educate them how proactively, by deploying GRC controls, they can
Yes.
avoid these incidents altogether, and that will help them save revenues as well, because management always understand financial terms. So you can start with financial losses, revenue increase, and all that. That will help them to understand. But without aligning the GRC benefits with the business objectives, they won't listen to you, because technical controls, like you rightly mentioned, they think that they need it because the business needs it, right? That is how they think about it. But GRC is something which is new for them. Until and unless you bridge that gap between the management and the GRC benefits, this will always be a challenge for you also, Mazum. And this is a common challenge which we see across the implementations also. When we go for the implementation, Masum, the first week the entire leadership team is with us throughout the leaders, the complete first week. But after one week, now we have to chase them. Okay, this is the update. This is the approval that we need from you. Same thing happens with us also, because they are not clear on the benefits part. So you have to make sure that they understand the value, the benefit. Once they understand the value proposition, definitely they will listen to you. Yeah, Jan.
Yeah. Jan, sir, you are not audible.
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. Yeah,
Yeah.
these are all the points with implementation. You have to understand how different standards, different compliances work together, right? We see there is a correlation among TPRM and on SOC 2, ISO 27001. We are talking about BCMS. All these are interrelated, correlated. They
Yeah.
support each other. That is when it becomes crucial for individual to understand a couple of standards, and not just they start their career thinking that it's all about one course, one standard, learn that, then they will take a pause. No, once you start, don't take that pause. Continue learning. Focus on gaining a knowledge which is in high demand in the market, like BCMS we are talking about. Privacy we have in the market, ISO 2770, the latest version 2025. We have artificial intelligence management system, ISO 42001, right? So just be focused, be in the market, so that you have to be connected with the right people.
Yeah.
Only then you will get to know what is happening in real time in the market. See, that is where we are taking, though we are kind of busy, we are taking out the time, minimum time every day. We will make sure to come up with the latest information, whatever is happening in the market, right? So that you all will get to know that there is an opportunity because of all these questions. You are also there in the domain. We too get to know there is something new out of you also, right?
Yeah.
Let us bring up this community. Thank you for all your support again, right? We request you all to reach us on the given number in case if you are looking for any training, hands-on training, right? Thank you for that.
Okay. So, my last question will be, after a real disruption occurs, what post incident review steps should be conducted under BCMS?
Right, yeah. This plays a crucial role. Definitely, we all talk about how we handle the disruptions or a disasters, but we can't take it lightly. Post once it is restored, we can't easy ourselves. There is lot of things we learn out of this particular disruption. What we talk about, we have to document each and everything. We have to make sure whether the plan has been executed as per our blueprint, our draft, basically whatever the policy procedure. Did all the key resources participated in the recovery stage? Were they had a required skill sets in them, right? That is when you will test each of the controls. When we talk about controls, it can be technical controls, people control, anything, everything comes into the picture. So we have to conduct a lesson learned, and we have to review on this. It has to be documented. So we have to
Yeah.
identify the gaps during this process and update the whatever the continuity plan we have it. We have to update from the lessons learned. And if we see any weakness in the control, we have to improve on work on the control, improve on the control, right? So basically, we have to retain the team's key skill sets employees, key resource, what we talk about. And with all this information, we have to report to the top management. We have to realize them, make them to understand what caused the issues, what in case if it happens again, what is our lesson learned out of this particular disruptions, right? This supports basically a continual improvement, what we talk about. All this comes under PDA cycle, PDCA cycle, basically. Okay. Yes, love,
Yeah.
over to you.
Basically, whenever any incident occurs, any disruption occurs, first thing that we see that when the reality kicks in, a lot of the procedures are not followed. They are skipped because at the moment of urgency, people do not forget. They don't remember those procedures. So after the incident is over, in the review process, we should do a root cause analysis as to why those documentation, why those methodologies, why those processes which were a part of the recovery were not followed in this disruption. Were they not useful at that time? Were people finding it too difficult to follow? Were they very complicated? Like, what was the real issue because of which you could not have, could not follow the process altogether? Because at the time of urgency, people always look for the quickest solution. Okay, they will always go for the best solution. They won't even think about anything else. So if they are not following the business continuity planning that we have created for them to follow, that means the plan itself is incorrect. That means the BCMS plans needs to have a revision. That means that we have to now retest it as per the criticality of the disruption, so that if tomorrow it happens, we can align with the right incident at the right time. Because if you have a 10-page document, Jayant, to mitigate a fire incident, forget about that. People will actually do that in the real fire incident. Nobody has that time for reading 10 pages, right? So similarly, you have to retest, you have to always see the reality of the situation, understand the root cause analysis, why people did not follow this process, why was there any better solution available at that time? If yes, then why was that solution not a part of the BCP altogether? So these are the questions we need to ask them. Okay,
I think
but again,
training and educating the employees key resource plays a crucial role at this stage, definitely. One thing,
yes,
they have to be trained well, and second thing, they should know where all those procedures available. More
even
than
if you
policy,
train them,
procedures plays
yeah.
a crucial role here.
But then problem is that even if you train them, again they will always fall back to the quickest option, right? So
Definitely,
again,
yes.
this training has to be conducted in such a manner that this is the only best option that they have at that time. They should think like that. And this should, that is where the intelligence comes in. That is where the maturity of the BCP plan comes in, actually. See, every company has a plan until they are hit on the face. We know that, right? So similarly, BCP plans every company has, but how much robust, how much active, how much on the ground your BCP plan is, that is what actually makes a difference. So that tomorrow when things actually happen, you are there to respond as per that incident, and you're not thinking whether I should follow this process, whether I should follow that process, or let me skip both of them because my idea is better, right? So people have the tendency, because these are people we are dealing with, right? They do that. Sometimes ago, I remember somebody, he was in the system administration role. That guy told me that why should I go through this route of switching on this server first, switching on that server first, switching on that server first, and then switching on this server. I rather I would do it directly. What is the harm in that? And he was right. But somebody designed the process like that. Okay, so this is what we need to now understand on the ground reality. What is happening on the ground, and most of the time the documentation is created by people who are there from a documentation perspective. That is where the gap comes in now, because these are not system administrators. These are not network administrators who are on the ground. And that is where the gap comes in, Jan. That is why yesterday also and today also I would say, always test your BCP plans, always test your business continuity planning. Without testing, without doing the mock drills, without doing the disaster recovery drills, you won't ever come close to the reality. Everything will look very good on the documentation part, but when you will test it, then you will see that, oh, okay, this is how it goes in the reality. So that will be an eye opener for you.
True,
And if
true.
you
I
want
think
to
this,
know more,
yeah.
yeah, if you want
So
to know
this
more
point
how
is
to
good.
conduct these drills, definitely call us at the number. We can help you conduct these drills also. We can help you design your BCP plans accordingly. All that support is there. Yes, yeah.
So we have seen in many of the instance like wherein company has it for the sake of compliance. All this documentation, policy, procedures, they have it for the sake of compliance. But we have seen the failure in the vision when it comes when real issues breaks out. It is completely a breakout for them, right? We have seen many instances like
Yes.
they could not able to handle the situation, though they have a documents, right? But that's not the
Yes.
reality. It should be there for all the purpose to covering the regulatory requirements again during the case in case of any disruptions. The organization should be able to handle the situation very effectively, right? Thank you for that. Yeah.
Thank you everyone for watching. Again, if you have any more questions, feel free to add in the comment section. We'll be more than happy to respond back. And if you again want us to, implement or create a new podcast for any specific topic that you have, please let us know. We'll be more than happy to conduct that podcast for you also. Because again, these are we are doing this for you, just to make sure that you get the value out of all these and you are able to clear your interview rounds more effectively. That is the only idea that we have. Okay,
Yeah.
so that we can support you into your interview process, so that we can support you into your journey into GRC. Okay, that is the whole idea. Yeah, Aditi.
Yeah, so it was a great session actually. Thank you everyone for your time and active participation. BCMS is not just a compliance requirement, it's a survival strategy actually. If today's discussion gave you a clarity and you want to understand business continuity from a practical implementation perspective, this is the right time to take the next step. We'd love to see you in the upcoming batch, and obviously we'll come with more interview questions for you guys only. So see you in the next session. Till then, bye bye, and thank you everyone for joining and gave your
Thank you,
time.
everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you.